Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm. And today we carry on our series. And if you guys remember what we did in the last episode, is that we created this widget here. And today our goal is to make this usable. Right, so let's just delete the rest of the parts that we did here, like the spawn parts, and let's create this now into a reusable component. All right. So to do this, what we need to do is that first we're gonna go back to our widget list in the folder. I'm gonna right click and create another one, and I'm gonna call this WBP widget, spawn parent, right? And I'm gonna open up here. I'm gonna go to here, right click, copy, and I'm just gonna right click that and paste. Nice. Now that I pasted it here, as you can see, it looks a little bit messed up. So it's just gonna go and select the desired on screen, just so it looks a little bit better. And now I'm just gonna make a couple of things here more, let's say, interesting. So I'm just gonna add a very long name to see what would happen. And I think that looks quite cool. Yeah, this is just a long name. That doesn't affect. Right, cool, great. So now we need to do the logic for when you load up this stuff, right? So what we're gonna do here is that we also need to do the logic when you hit the keys. Well, that's gonna be a challenge on its own, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun thing. So let's do the first thing when you load this widget first. So I'm gonna create a new variable, and I'm gonna call this the spawn loadout. This is gonna be the st spawn option, public. Make sure it's exposed on spawn. We're gonna compile and save that, and that's pretty much what we need. Cool. Now the first thing that we need to do here is that we're gonna get this variable. We're gonna break, and now we're gonna select this frame, right? The icon frame. Make sure it's a variable, and we're gonna compile and save. And we have to change this dynamic based on the the type of it. So we've done this before, so we just need to get the icon frame. We need to basically set the texture to the what we're looking for, and we need to basically select based on the type, right? And now what we need to do here is that we just basically, if it's strike, if it's defense, whatever. So I'm just gonna go back to our frames, and to be honest, I'm gonna try to follow more or less here what Helldiver does, but if you guys want to be more accurate, you can copy exactly the names. But I think I know that defense would be like blue, green would be support, and then you have the yellow, which is yellow is the support. That blue is the gun, and defense is the green, and then you have strike, and I think that's fine. Cool. So we already have this stuff sorted. Now I'm going to show you a trick to make this a little bit more let's say self-contained. So every time you have those functions that they need to do a specific thing, what I recommend to do is that to create as a pure function. So a pure function does not require input. It just requires, let's say, output, right? So what we could do here is that we could right click, and we could go back to, we could collapse this to a function called, I don't know, fn set frame. Very simple name. And inside the set frame, what we could do is that we could configure this to pure, right? And basically, pure function would actually, for this case, I do need, forget about the pure, because we do need input. We need to know when we load this. But that's fine. We just convert it to a function. And we're going to load this on the event construct. So there's two differences between those two events. The event construct is similar as the begin play. So once you press play, it loads up the sequence or event that you define. Now, a pre-construct for widget is something that you don't really have in blueprints, but it's basically it's something that happens before you load the widget. That's why you'll be able to see the things as you change the variable. But right, so we don't need this for now, so we can remove that. Now we have the frame set up, which is great. Now we have to set up the icon, right? So how do we set up the icon? Same thing, get the icon. Icon is a little bit easier. We just get and we set texture and we break the layout. Break, oh, not branch, I just wanna break here and we put the icon right there. And we just assign, and that's all we need. Easy. Now, set the icon spawn. Yeah. Now, if you want, you could do something like that, you know, right click, and then you collapse the function, call fn set icon, and that will work as well. Great, so that's done. Now the next thing you could do is that we need to set the name, right, of this. So the name is not a variable, so let's make sure that's a variable, and we're just gonna call title, just so it's easy for us to find. And we're gonna do the same. We're gonna get this set texture. Oh, sorry, set text, and we're gonna drag here, connect those two nodes. We're gonna go back to the spawn loadout. We're gonna break, and we're gonna set the name right there. Nice, the name now is set, everything's perfect. What we could do here is, I'm just gonna plug here, and you know, set the title. Right, great. Now here comes the part which is very challenging, but it's gonna be interesting. So now we kind of need to load this up on the fly, right? This is the most, I would say that's the most complicated and most fun thing part of this whole story, because this is gonna be where if you press, the keys will change their color, they'll get grayed out or something. So how can we do this? So the first thing we need to do is, let's just give it a decent name, and I'm gonna call the key combinations. That's just gonna be the horizontal box. And what I'm gonna do here is, first let's just collapse this to a function, call, you know, fn set title. That's it. Now I'm gonna bring the get key combination items, and we're gonna clear all the children, and that will basically wipe out all the current data that we have here, the dummy data. And now we need to, if you guys remember, as part of our spawn loadout, we have, if I break this, we have key combinations. That's a loop. So I'm just gonna do a for each, right? I'm gonna loop this in a loop, and I'm just gonna unselect this, and there we go. So for this loop, we're gonna create a widget, and we're gonna select the key that we're looking for, and we're gonna drag that widget here. And if you compile and save, it's gonna ask for you know, what's the action key. Just gonna plug that one here, right? That's all we gotta do, realistically. So pretty much that's all we're looping here. I'm gonna right click, and I am just gonna basically, you know, collapse to a function, and I'm gonna call fn set action keys, and that's it. Right, so this is gonna run as you start, and now we need to kind of glue this stuff together with the player. Right, so we only want this to show when you press Control. Right, so let's set up the controls for this. So on the content, if you go, sorry, let's do it properly here. So I'm just gonna put this on the side. So if I go back to my Helldiver game control, I have here my player that we set up, which is the the default pawn class, which is the one that we created. And if you open up this, you have something here called enhanced input local, right? So you have like this mapping context. Normally you can add this to or the player controller, or you add that to the player pawn, right? So for this case, we have this added here to the player pawn. So I'm gonna keep it on the player pawn. Normally, I like to move this to the controller. You don't have to, but it's just because it's easy to stay in the controller, because then you have everything close together. But you can create interfaces and stuff to do all that. Right. One thing I would like to do here is that I would like to add another input from when the player presses Control. On my player controller will trigger that action for us. All right. And so to do this properly, what I would like to do here is that I would like to get my player controller. And because I don't really want to use interface, I don't want to add that complexity for us. So I'm just gonna do this by doing after this adding player mapping controller, I'm gonna cast to BP the Helldiver controller. Okay, I'm gonna drag and put this one right there. And now I'm gonna set this as Helldiver controller. That's it. Now we have access to all the methods inside that controller. Nice. Now let's add this new context, this new key option. So I'm going to browse to that, and it should give us to this third person input, right? I'm going to go back to these actions, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a new action. So I'm going to go to the input and user, input here, and I'm going to create a new input action, and I'm going to call and then I'm going to just call this spawn command. Spawn command. Yeah, that's it. Nice. Now with this thing in mind, I don't need to do anything, just leave as default, right? I'm gonna go back to my inputs, IMC default. I'm gonna add a new mapping, and the new mapping will be basically this ispawn command, right? That's good. That's all you gotta do. And here is gonna ask, which control would you like? What trigger? How is this gonna be triggered? You're just gonna click on this button and press Control, left control in my case. You can add more mappings as well, but I'm just gonna add the left control. Right, I'm gonna go back to the actions, and I'm just gonna duplicate this, and here we're gonna call this IA spawn, let's say key up, and then we're gonna have the let's see here, the key down, and then we're gonna have the key left, and then we're gonna have another one, the key left, right. Nice. Do everything done properly. Great. Now, what can we do with this stuff? It's basically, we're gonna add another option here, and we're basically gonna search for left, and we're gonna search for down, up, and then so left, down, up, and so left. Which one's the next one? Right. Yeah. Left and right. Great. Now we need to assign keys for this. So we're gonna basically do left. Here's gonna be, up. Oh, sorry, down. And here's gonna be basically up. And here we're gonna put our the right. Great. Nice. So that's done proper. Cool. Now that we have this stuff out of the way, we can close this. And we can go back to our Hell Hero. And let's create here the events, similar events that we do here, but to handle those actions, right? So if you guys remember that we called, so IA look, and then so let's just do IA, you have key down, right click, IA, key left, IA dash, key right, IA dash, key up, and IA dash spawn command. Yeah, everything is aligned properly. Nice. So this stuff is all done. We don't have the logic for this yet, but we're gonna do the logic for that, right? So before we implement this, let's go back to the player controller. Sorry, to the blueprint, and let's do the thing that creates the spawn, creates the widget for us when we load the information on the page. All right, so to do that, we basically gonna create here, a custom event. I'm gonna call this API open widget, and then we're gonna have an API close widget, API close widget. And the API that opens and closes the widget is very simple. We're gonna basically, create the widget from class, and the widget that we would like to create here is our, what is it? Helldivers widget. We'd like to create that here. There we go. And we're gonna promote this to a variable, right? I'm gonna add that to a variable. Main widget. And what we're gonna be doing here is that we're gonna add to the viewport, and basically that's it. That's all we need to do here. Now, one thing we need to make sure is that I don't want to spawn this multiple times, and so is valid. So we're gonna create here if it's valid or not. If it's valid, you add to the viewport. If it's not valid, you will do this, and then you do that, and the widget will come from here, right? Not from that. So you're doing here, right? Now this create widgets, it kind of needs some some information here. We need to be able to reset the information, right, on the go. But we can do that in a sec. So now we open up, we close up this. What we can do here is that on close, we can just get this widget. And I guess we could, let me think about it. How would you do this? Would you you always spawn the widgets. I think we could just, set the visibility to collapsed. And that's what you could do here. So it's collapsed. And then you're gonna add the widgets to the viewport here. And then you can set visibility to visible. And in that way, it would always be visible. So you're adding the widget once, but once the widget is available, that's it. Now we can do that here, right? And what I could do is that I'm going to create a new variable called is widget visible. Is widget visible, right? And I'm just going to set this to true. Otherwise, we set that to false. Now, what I could do is that we can create another custom event called API, turn on and off widget, for example, or a toggle, whatever. And basically, what we're doing here is that we're gonna get a branch where if it's enabled, we want to hide, and if it's hidden, we want to show. Just want to do the inverse here. All right. Now, what we can do is basically test if this widget's gonna show up or not. Let's see. We still have to do some work in the widget, by the way, but that will be done for the next lesson. Let's just make sure this thing's showing up and is hitting on time. So now, on the hero, the class, what we could do is that we can get our player controller here, and we can call this toggle, or the turn on, turn off. And what we can do with that information is basically, so if it's started, you do that. And if it's cancelled, we can toggle again. So let's see what's gonna happen. So if I go back here, yeah, nice. So if because in Helldiver, let's say you're jumping, killing bugs and stuff, and then you press, oh, yeah, so you press the button and then you can just do left, and then that will do all this stuff. We also need to make sure we disable the movement of the player, but that's gonna be cool. So that's gonna be a fun thing to do. All right, guys. So thank you very much for watching this video. In the next one, we're gonna be doing the part where we're passing all this logic to the widget, and then the widget display everything in a nice way for us. And yeah, so if you guys been enjoying, thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.